Hello, welcome to the JA Region Session 5 Volunteer Resource video. In Session 5, Entrepreneurs Go Global, you will demonstrate supply chain dynamics using a manufacturing and trade example. Students will break into groups representing various countries. Each group will attempt to build a computer by trading parts with the other groups. Since this is your final JA session, you'll want to think about and plan how the session will end, including graduation. Certificates are included in the classroom kit. Be sure to write each student's name on a certificate, sign and date them. Ask the classroom teacher to sign them as well. If you plan to bring a treat in for the students, ask the teacher in advance if there are any restrictions. Typically, treats must be peanut-free, but there could be other restrictions too. Usually, treats need to be eaten during the JA session time. Remember the basic tips for all sessions. Communicate with your teacher before your session. Specifically, for this session, ask about the treats and signing the certificates. Arrive early. Have your materials ready to go before your scheduled start time, including distributing table tents and getting your JA banner and posters in place. You will lead an activity where the students are separated into 8 groups. Each group represents a different country that supplies a part necessary to build a computer. You will hold back a 9th part so the students don't see it. Greet the students as class begins. Remind them that you've talked about individual entrepreneurs and small business, and in this session you'll talk about large businesses and their unique challenges. Share a recent example of how global events can affect regional businesses, such as the impact of oil prices on gasoline and therefore on transportation. Use the supply chain flyer and the vocabulary flashcards to introduce the terms for this session. Have students underline the 7 links listed on the supply chain flyer as you read them aloud. To help students understand these concepts, use their school as an example, with publishers supplying textbooks, food companies supplying lunches, and bus manufacturers providing transportation to and from school. Tell students that they'll do an activity that will help them see how the supply chain works and for some of the problems that sometimes come up. Tell them that they are going to run a company that builds computers. Have the students list some of the parts that make up a computer. Now that they recognize some of the varied parts, divide them into 8 groups and pass out the sticker and computer assembly sheets. Have one student from each group read the name of their computer part and the name of the country the part comes from. When all groups have shared their parts, tell students that they need to collect a sticker from each group and place it in the corresponding space on their computer assembly sheet. Consider having each group identify traders who will travel to other countries to obtain the necessary parts to build a computer, and sellers who will stay and sell their part to the other groups. They have 5 minutes to complete the exchange. The groups will soon begin to realize they're missing a part, the part you held back. Explain there has been a disaster and that your factory is not producing that part right now, so their company will have to wait for the part they need. It's a good idea to share your disaster idea with the teacher before the class so that he or she is comfortable with your example. Tell the students they should continue to trade parts until they have everything else they need. Time permitting, you may want to have students brainstorm ways that they could help the country with the disaster relief before giving them the product sticker. Distribute your part to the group so they can finish their assembly sheets. Use a few of the questions provided in the volunteer guide and debrief the activity. Remind students that this is the last session for JAR Region. Tell them you enjoyed your time with them and that you hope they enjoyed it too and learned something new. Review some of the topics and activities you completed during your sessions and ask students about what they learned and enjoyed the most. Tell students that they are now ready to graduate. Call the students up one at a time to receive their certificate and have other students applaud. Teach them to shake your hand with their right hand and to accept the certificate with their left. Offer to leave the table tents and posters with the classroom teacher for future use. If not, check with your JA staff contact to see if they would like to recycle the unused materials. This concludes the Session 5 video, and thank you for being a Junior Achievement Volunteer.